think are happening. But also, like, realize that when someone's insensitive to other people's wants, they should be expelled from whatever office they're currently holding. That is the truth. The truth and the matter of the fact is that just because of career politicians saying things and doing things to gain the public's interest and the public's support, it doesn't mean you should like them, but it means you should know that sometimes they're working in your favor. So just because of somebody saying things and saying something needs to be done, just because they've said 31 years ago that they were the opposite and they wanted to fund the police, when in actuality they were just literally causing this to happen and not be like educated on certain things like mentally ill patients and different things, and people literally have no rights sometimes. Like I was recently hospitalized for 10 days and I wanted to not take medication as a recourse, as a way of me getting my marijuana card and being able to take marijuana as a sleep aid and an anxiety reliever, because it's decriminalized here and it's medically legal. So, but I didn't have that choice because they kept on giving me Haldol shots every night. So realize that no, sometimes you don't have the rights or the things to do certain things with if you're a certain person with a certain illness or something like that. It sucks, and it really does suck that sometimes when the patient says they want to stop, or the patient says they've had enough, or they've been across the entire scale of psychosuppressants and anxiety relievers, and they've had problems with every single one, they don't get that choice unless they scream it from the mountaintops, and even then they still have to talk to a doctor about it, and it costs money. So insurance sometimes doesn't even take it. So especially in New Orleans and southern states and stuff like that, because there's still something in someone's mind saying that they might do something to it, and if they're responsible, then everybody's gonna get sued, and there's gonna be suing and a world of suing, and then people don't understand that in some ways I've smoked medical marijuana, and when I've smoked medical marijuana, I've had positive results every single time. I relaxed. I was able to think. I was able to do different chores and stuff like that. To just take that into account, you know. I had plugs. I had people, but I don't talk to those people anymore. Mostly, I don't talk. I have friends that did it, and they offered me some, but I'm not gonna talk about those friends here. Not because I would make them do anything, but because the stuff they had wasn't good enough. No, I just want it to be legalized, and I want people to be able to be instead of just out in the outskirts of business, on the outskirts of society, be accepted by society, and no matter what, have a say-so in what goes on with their IRS taxes and all those things that they've constantly been fucking protesting against. And when it actually happens and when there's actual change, they have no idea what to think about because they've constantly been doing ecstasy and or hallucinogenics, and they're just fucked up that day. It does mostly. So that's the real reason why I don't do anything about those stupid problems that most people who were protesting and wanted to change. What did they want to change? If they want people to be more understanding, then sometimes you got to be more understanding of them. You got to understand that people grew up shittily. People didn't have good friendships and childhoods as much as you did. You know, people grew up in the squalor. You know, like in the actual squalor, not the one you constantly are afraid of because you went to college and you were able to go to college, and some people weren't smart enough to go to college, or just weren't prepared to go to college. You know, sometimes they just put themselves out in the world, and that's valid too. because you have a PhD in whatever the fuck dead language you feel like fucking studying that day. just realize that not everybody does that, you know? Not everybody gets into that stuff, but there's still something common we can all get into doing, and we should be doing, because it means, oh shit, there's a dude right behind me and I didn't even know. That was average. Just realize, like, that's the reason why I keep sharing, because there's nothing you can do to stop someone from thinking a certain way if they've felt that their entire life. And no matter what way they use to heal, it's your responsibility if you keep saying that everyone needs to change. Or everything needs to change. So just realize it's not just about the person that hates you. It's not just about the person that does things when you do things. It's not just about the person that has a business while you have a business, you know? It's not about lifting up some voices. And I know that's what we're going to do for Black History Month, but just realize that everyone it's a level playing field with capitalism. And that's the reason why. That's the whole reason why, is because everyone gets a chance. And everyone should get a chance. And, oh, you don't know the whole reason why America's doing this is because blah, blah, blah. In the 1940s, everyone bombed. It's because racists had bombs. Because racists had the power. Because racists strategically put people inside the American dream and literally tore it down from the beginning. It's because at the core of the belief system, the people who thought they were the good boys, they were the good guys, would constantly go screaming and charging into crowds. And that shit happened all the time. And you know what? I think that people need to understand is that shouldn't change the American way. That shouldn't change the American ideals. But it's just because they got fucked up by somebody that decided to beat a woman in jail and have 5 or 6 other black dudes sit on her, and then while he was beating her face, and he was just a white guy, and he said that if they didn't do what he said, then they beat him, they beat them. No, at the beginning of certain revolutions, of certain people's revolutions, of certain anything's revolutions, they were stopped by people who were specifically put there by certain Jim Crow laws and fucked up people who wanted to warp the fucking American public's eye and turn everyone who was actually even Republican or even Democrat or anybody of the lower what they thought tier was just brown or anything like that. Those people are gone. Those people don't have the bombs anymore. They don't have the shit. They don't have the stuff that goes boom. And that's why that doesn't happen anymore. That's the reason. And that's what changed. And that's what had to change. Because those motherfuckers kept using it on people and they didn't fucking keep themselves to anyone, and no one fucking liked them. Because it's an antisocial behavior. Racism is an antisocial behavior because of people who kept to themselves for no fucking reason and were afraid of every single little thing or any risk at all. That's why the stock market stayed closed. That's why all the bullshit kept happening. But that era's gone. There are people that are crazy and stupid and just dumb because they want to cause a fuss or a ruckus now. On both sides. So when you see some dude go, oh, we should blow up that car, and everybody else goes, no, we're protesting, then you realize that could have turned into some bullshit if everyone else didn't have the know-how or the actual American dream in mind. And realizing that is the truth. The truth of the matter is that people try to warp your perception every single day of what the truth should be. And that's not freedom or non-freedom. That's just someone trying to sell you something. That's literally anyone that's trying to sell you a product. They're trying to warp your perception of what your freedom actually is and what it consists of. And there's people who have the dream of, oh, I don't even like technology. I don't even want to be here. I just want people to start noticing me and my crochets. Just realize that's the American dream too, kind of. The American dream doesn't always. It's like you don't have to believe in it. It's like science. You don't have to believe in it because because it exists. It exists, and that's the reason why. And you don't have to believe in it because it still exists, no matter if you believe in it or not. There is always going to be someone that wants freedom, that wants to be free of some responsibility when it comes to people's decisions up high, and the fact that people don't have to be responsible for it. And that's the truth about responsibility and freedom and what it actually means to be free. You have the choice to go into the military. If there's an emergency, they're probably going to put you in the military. But as soon as that skirmish is done, you can go home. Or you're dead. And realize that happens whenever we decide to go to war with somebody. When we don't, it's much better. It's much better for everyone, and no one wants a war here, especially with China. No one wants a war because it's bad for everyone. No one makes money off of it anymore. No one's on those stances and those war bonds and bullshit that if the war goes on for 10 years or blah, 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 then you get paid $50,000. No questions asked. Because the economy doesn't run on racist bullshit anymore. The economy doesn't run on some dude who's a general that knows a guy that knows a guy that knows a guy. It runs on information, and the information is clear. Understanding our enemy, our competitors, and understanding the way that they tick and the way that they move is better than any war you could ever even imagine. Okay, I have a nail. Better than any war we could ever fight on any soil. Understanding the way that they do things and realizing that the more they do it, the less people are going to be around them. The more they do it, the more their own people will start to move and become better and become different. And there'll be some that they'll still be whitewashed in their brainwashed in their bullshit. And I don't really give a shit. I mean, oh man, movies are movies, dude. Like, I don't really give a shit about it. I really don't. They get what? They wake up at like 6 o'clock in the morning and they make millions and millions of dollars on one occasion, and they have to pay most of it back to taxes because they constantly go into ideas that don't make any sense, like Johnny Depp and bullshit. Oh my god. Another the American dream I hate is people that constantly take advantage of systems and constantly say that, oh, I'm the one and I'm the victim and everyone's here to get me money and blah. No, that's dumb. It doesn't matter if you are the victim. Just because someone is the victim of something doesn't mean you have to give them money. It doesn't mean it. It means they need to get out of their own victimhood first, and then realize that no, they shouldn't be given money because they went through something horrible. I don't know why he didn't shoot him first. But I don't want to constantly talk about bullshit. That's why sometimes I'm silent, because I don't even remind people about stupid fucking things that happen in our world. Or people that are in modelhood ships and the way that they feel when people talk about them being a model or anything like that. They're just, America was different back then, and I wasn't a part of it, so I don't really think I should actually even be responsible for it. And there's no privilege when it comes to being a certain color or a certain anything. People still think you're weird if you have a beard. Oh, you bitch! I don't know how he hit me in the head. I was covered by that freaking thing. Oh. I don't get it, man. I really don't get it. People just... People just constantly try to hook you into believing their bullshit. And not seeing their bullshit. Like the Clintons, they're exactly like the Weinsteins not the Weinsteins, the Epstein bullshit. They're exactly like it. They're exactly like it. They basically used to do things, and when they did things, they weren't completely set. And when people were terrorists or who were terrorists would find them and they'd kill them. And then the Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton wouldn't do anything about it. And that's literally the reasons why those people died, because they kept using email servers that were unsecure. And they shouldn't go to jail for it, but they should definitely be reprimanded for not using software or finding a person if they're going to do a political something, and something that changes the world or something that changes their world or their political views. To me, it just matters who has the guns and who has the bombs. And when the right people have the guns and the bombs, nothing can go wrong. I'm not saying that people need to lose their guns or anything like that. I'm saying that people need to lose. They should get the paperwork for 14 days, and then when they do a felony before they have something, because they're getting the gun to shoot someone, then they should be waiting for 14 days. Because that someone might want to shoot them first, in defense, Education too. I've always known that people need to be educated when they're becoming cops or when they're becoming police officers. I've always absolutely known that, and I thought it was real. I thought it was actually happening, but no, it's not. And people need to reform. You need to reform the police. They need to reform it all, and they need people to understand that the most people who are really dying, the most people who are really getting shot in the face, without any regard to what they're doing, there are mental patients. And not just white, not just black, it's just, and I really hate saying white and black, because we're not just that. We're not just white and black. It's not just that. There's so many shades. There's so many colors. There's so many cultures. They're so rich with actually being there and actually being around. They're surviving in a special way. And that's what makes them special. And if you found that in their culture, that they do survive, just like a country boy or anybody else that has anything to do with how they're able to come up and make their own independence, there will be less of this misunderstanding bullshit, and there will be less of this people constantly saying that, white people in Africa are slums. It's like, yeah, we have that too. It's called trailer parks. And most of them do meth. We have that. And they do it by choice sometimes, because they have $5,000 and they don't want to invest it. They have $5,000 now and they're getting kicked out of their mom's house. And they don't. Kicked out of their mom's house and they have no idea what they're doing. I don't know why he didn't pick up a gun. Oh, you son of a bitch. I didn't see him, and I saw him right as I turned. But yeah, just, I'm not trying to be someone to do something, but I want to sell people things. And in order for me to do that, I need views. So please, you know, I mean, right there, down there, get on this thing and watch me. Watch me work. What pisses me off the most too is my stepbrother thought I was a child molester. He thought I was, and it pissed me off so goddamn bad that I fucking left. I fucking absolutely left. And I hated my ex for thinking or even believing him. This is the shit that actually gives me nightmares, and I wanna murder him for thinking that or ever telling anyone anything, because I was gonna break up with her. I was telling her shit to her face, just seeing how she would react to it. I was basically telling her shit, that basically rolling it off the tongue as like I wanted her to hate me so she could let go of me, basically. And it's private matters, but I was just saying shit that I wouldn't normally say, because I didn't feel that way. I never felt that way about the way that I said those things. I never felt that way at all. I never did those things thinking that I didn't hate myself, you know, afterwards or before. So I hated myself doing those things that I did, and I hated myself afterwards, and that's the reason why I did those things, is because I hated myself and I hated everyone around me for allowing me to be able to go through something so heinous and so terrible. But that's a private matter too. And what people need to understand about the situation that I went through is, and I know other people have been through it, they're just like, oh, you're so pussy, you like got laid. No, I didn't get laid. I got taken advantage of by a 30-year-old woman. My dad didn't watch the people that I hung out with. My dad didn't want me home at a certain time. Sometimes, if people were out there that were me, I was 15. I wasn't supposed to be out. I was supposed to be at home. I do blame my dad in that situation. I blame my dad for a lot of different things, and that's pretty much why I didn't tell him about it at first. And the reason why I didn't tell him, because I told my mom because I trusted her more. And the reason why my mom blamed my dad because of it, and it was messed up and it sucked a lot, but that's the reason why I felt like I hated everything and everyone, even myself, because I pulled myself out of it, and I realized that I didn't hate her. The woman who was 30, she didn't even know how old I was. She just expected something, and she should have been asking those questions too. And my dad should have been asking those questions. My dad should have been more there for me. He knows what he got into as a fucking child. He was selling weed by 8 years old, so he should have been more strict on me, and realized that yes, I was supposed to be under supervision constantly. But because of those stupid situations, I made some stupid decisions of my own. And I kept being around those people, and I had no choice but to forgive her. She didn't even care, because I had to realize that she didn't care afterwards, because it just, it scarred me a lot. It's something I get very, very self-centered about, and I try to reach out to people who had it done to them, And they don't think I know. They don't think I understand or anything like that. And it sucks when I can't tell them anything because they've never told me anything, you know? It's like, how can you open up to someone who doesn't open up to you, you know? I don't find it damning though. Like whenever people tell me that it either happened to them or something happened to them. Like, I do blame my dad for it. I do blame my dad for it, and I'm 15. I was 15. I could not be held responsible for my actions, and it sucks. It sucks that I was demonized and victimized my entire life. And constantly added on to things, constantly added on to me hating people around me, and just and not being able to accept people for who they really were, but understanding that they felt a certain way or they had a certain opinion about me before I ever even talked to them, and that's the way that Amber felt about me. My ex felt that I was just that she would fucking I told her I hated him, and she never asked me why. She just assumed I was some bullshit ass dude who was like feeling hurt because my dad left me all alone. Like, no, I didn't give a shit about my dad after he left me alone. I really didn't. My dad left, and he left us all. He left all of my family, and to make a new family, and that's what his goal was. He wanted to be happy on no one else's restraint, and he didn't want to take responsibility for something that my stepdad took responsibility for. My dad never wanted to have a normal conversation with my mom. And that was the truth. And that was the absolute truth. And it was like, oh, well, I guess you got the dirt bag. And it's like, no, he could have been a real dirt bag. But he stopped us from constantly eating our fucking troubles away. He did me a favor, basically. People need to understand that, and my sister needs to constantly understand that. My dad isn't here anymore because of the decisions that he made for himself. He knew he had heart disease. He knew he had chances of cancer. He had chances and heart disease over everything. And he shouldn't have done the things that he did. He shouldn't have hung out with the people that he hung out with. People you hang out with. And my dad constantly hung out with people who had problems and habits, so he could feel like he was better or higher and mighty than anyone else or something like that, because he had the friends who had gone through the shit, and he wanted to be cool. He just wanted to be cool. His entire life, he just wanted to be cool. And I know he did it with him. I know he absolutely did it with him. He was like, well, I did some of it, and then they were like, wow, man, you're really going overboard. It's just like, you were just telling me you're the dude who wasn't as cool as the other guy that was literally doing the most drugs, and probably the one that was paying for them. So you were the annoying dude who did drugs, Dad. My dad was the annoying dude who did drugs. I didn't really get my dad. I didn't really get to tell him many things, and a part of me was just going absolutely insane wanting to tell him something. But that same part of me knew that if I told him anything, he would never acknowledge it, and he just it's wearing tidy whities. Oh, man, the weight's been lifted, I guess. The weight's been lifted. The whole thing. I did blame my dad of the whole thing that happened to me. And I think that's the reason why people are so intense about their politics sometimes, is because of the way they felt defending themselves over so many different things, and against their parents, basically. And that's why I don't judge people mostly for anything they do or anything they believe. But in the same sense, I don't believe that, because I pretty much hate all politicians. I hate all the politicians. The Bernie Sanders, the Ralph Naders, all of them, every one of them, from every single facet, because none of them want to get together on anything. None of them. Everyone's got this whole look about themselves is they're just depressed and sulking, or they're saying some blanket statement that everyone needs to get together on because because it makes them, it's the wow factor. Wow. Celebrity bullshit that everyone constantly even feeds off of, that everyone. That's why I don't watch cop dramas. And my roommate watches cop dramas because they don't make sense. Most of them don't. But they actually have people from the 80s that were doing cop stuff, and they have those people consulting with people, and then they make those things in the 90s or the 2000s or something like that. They like base there. It's really dumb. It's really stupid. And they're like, I don't know. They're just like, oh my God, I didn't close the door one day when I was checking my computer, and the killer. In Criminal Minds, it was just insanely stupid about how many people got away with so much bullshit. If they're such good goddamn profilers, then no one should have gotten killed. If they're such great profilers, then it's like, wow, he's really going for a retro chic look on his killings these days. It's more postmodern. You see the blood splatter over here. It's like fucking people describing art, and it's just the dumbest bullshit. I don't watch it though, because it makes me just facepalm to the max, I guess. But yeah, I just really don't like it. I really don't like them. They don't speak cop drama to me, or cop dramas. Cops aren't dramatic. They do their job. Sometimes. And when they don't, we tell them about it a lot. See, there was like two other people. There's a dude behind me and in front of me. There was like no freaking way I was gonna win that. So that's the reason why I think that. Not that. This is the reason why I believe that really what people should be doing is coming up with change in the first place. And that's the reason why our situation with politics is getting worse and worse. Our position on politics as a whole is just becoming boring and latent. And people are running business and all the other different stuff. They believe capitalism is all about business. It's about, no. Capitalism is all about selling an idea. Capitalism and freedom are always about selling ideas, which are not correlated with freedom. Like, capitalism isn't correlated with freedom in any way. It's just a form of government. I don't hate people who are different governments than me. I don't. But I also don't like them more because they're dumb. And don't turn them into memes because I don't fucking care. I hate all politicians. All politicians. Even the ones across the world. All of them. Inherently. They're dumb. They all say things that don't matter. They also always lie sometimes. That is something that is very true. Including Vladimir Putin, Kim Jong-un, and everything about it, because they're blatant, obvious lies. They're blatant, obvious lies that you know aren't the truth, but somehow get them in some form of anonymity. Like Kim Jong-un and the fact that he murders his family on a daily basis just because of them not liking him the way that he does government. That's the bullshit that really is. And Xi Jinping trying to cover up the place where he came from by constantly flooding the areas around the farmland of which he grew up at. Every single leader that is a dictator or a dumbass who is a dictator is always trying to cover up their past. Like Vladimir Putin came out of nowhere, basically. But Vladimir is reminiscent of Vlad the Impaler, so in some ways he probably has followers or people that are different on different black sites or different things that do things that he doesn't know about. I mean, America did that in the '60s. He's literally taking a page book out of literally Vietnam. Now I'm saying literally too much. But it's crazy, man. It's just pointless to like. I've always thought that, man. I've always thought that he's such a fucking. He's a blowhard, man. Like when he wants to cover something up, he so easily thinks that he covered it up. But politically, he's a fucking blowhard. Such a blowhard. And then this is the reason why I know that Trump is investing money in Russia. And that's the reason why everyone cuts ties with them. Because every single time they're exactly like China. They want to say that they're not like China, but they are. Because every single one of their monies goes into different projects and funded things from the state instead of going into the project that they actually meant for it to go into. That's the reason why capitalism is that thing. It's the reason why our stocks stay up high and theirs are very much down low. That I always hesitate before I invest in a Chinese stock because they're usually controlled by the state. And I way before. And just because something is named it different, like the USSR, when the socialist regime fell, and it's like, yeah, I don't trust regimes, but I definitely don't trust people either. Because those regimes, when they fall, the people who do things that are bad go to other governments and then get hired to do more bad things. It's not like whoa, everyone the credits are roll and everybody's gonna put their fist up at the football stadium when they're walking away because it's a Breakfast Club and everyone said their feelings. No, it's not like that. It's not like that at all. It's the fact that they are lying their asses off constantly, and they are always gonna lie because that's the way they are. That's the way the Kremlin runs. That's the way the Kremlin runs with lies. That's the way the American brand is with hiding things in plain sight all the time. It's not the lie that's the bad thing. It's the thing you're covering up by telling the lie. That's the bad thing. If you're covering up human experimentation, like in the 1970s with America, that's bad. But also you have to realize that people were batshit insane in the CIA back then. They didn't know anything about science. They didn't do anything about science. They didn't know anything about anything. They just thought red lights in different colors affected you. And you know what? Sometimes it does. But other times, it really doesn't. Like the red on the on-air symbol really doesn't affect me at all. I focus on it to be able to understand that I'm doing something, but it really doesn't affect me in the same sense of like, oh my god, there's so much red on the screen. It's so affecting me. It's making me want to do things faster. That doesn't do anything. None of the colors make any sense. It's like those YouTube videos where, hey, the Charles Schwab and what is it, the Bulls symbol meant power. And no, I don't care. It doesn't mean anything to me. It never meant anything to me. Why did you do it in the first place? I don't know. You were bored. That's basically the reasons why I think that, like, most temples were made by crazy people. Most temples were made by crazy people. And they all just like, oh my god, this art is so amazing. I want to meet the people that used to do that. The people that used to do that used to sacrifice people like you on an altar. That's what they did. That's what they always did because they had a harvest for the crops. They needed to kill you because they didn't want you to talk to them so much. It always gets to me, man. It always gets to me. Because people don't know shit about the people that were actually back then or any of that stuff. They just think that there's some sort of magic fucking pill that they're gonna like fucking take and then everything's gonna be okay or something like that. It's the same kind of thinking a little bit. It's more of a like, oh, I don't like how Trump. You should see the way he talks. If you understand the way he talks, it's like it came down to like not liking the way someone says something. Like, oh god, it's just so stupid. It got on my nerves so much because people just like, oh my god, it's totally Trump's fault that everyone got shot in the eye with a rubber bullet. It's like, no, maybe you should realize that the cops around you are racist and you shouldn't protest because you're a certain color. Maybe you should go about your day and not take that day off of work because maybe, just maybe, there's a history of racism in Boston and not just the South. Dude, I've always said that, man. Racism is everywhere, dude. That's what people don't get. Racism is absolutely everywhere. It's in the hearts and minds of people you would think to be the most wonderful people ever. The most wonderful people. Full and wonderful and the best at everything. They were just the best. So just realize, man, there are some bullshitty things that people do that they think they can get away with just because of their stature or their prominence, or their power, or anything like that. But that's the reason why they do it, because they base themselves on things that are surrounding them. They base themselves on things and people and things and people and things and people and things and people instead of basing their lives on their own self-worth. When you get the basics, man, when you get the basics of just, you'll feel a lot better. You feel, when you get the basics of just the way you should feel about the world. Alright, well, I'm gonna go to bed now. Because my medication is kicking in. And I need to put this into the garbage. Everybody have a good day, and you are your own one-person bomb squad. And if I don't see people making a difference in that number, then actually I'm gonna play this level. I mean this level. So what this medication does to me, it makes me very, very, very. It makes me like 20 times higher than if I would have actually smoked marijuana. So I'm really fucking. My motor skills are good, but like my fucking, my words don't want to come out sometimes. They just, everything's just so dry. Everything's so fucking, I don't know what the fuck I'm saying. I just said dry for no reason. So it feels like everything's dry. I get dry mouth. I get like, I don't know how to describe it. Like, I hated my dad. Part of me really hated my dad. Part of me really hated my mom that they had kids and they didn't feel like staying together for it. But part of me also has to realize that they're human too, and their lives aren't based off of me. Basically, they brought me to this world, and it was just energy. They brought me in mass and stuff like that. And we find out how children are made. Just gonna play the game.
Their love keeps you centered. This Valentine's Day, tell them with a gift from the Center of Me collection. Exclusively at K. Your dressing story changes from one day to the next.
That's really weird.
Where's Ella? She got tied up. I told you no Ella, no deal.
Alright, everybody have a good day. I suck at this game, but I'm gonna get better one day.